Welcome and welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Komaris, and for today's video, as you can see by the title, I'm going to be going over my thoughts on the new Netflix series show by Vince Staples, The Vince Staples Show. And of course, I knew of Vince Staples before this show, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to watch the show, is because he's a very hilarious person and is a very, he's a character. If you know him and you've seen any of his interviews, like, you know that he's very hilarious. So I thought that it would be really dope to like see how he interacts in a different medium. Yeah. And also based on like the interviews that I've watched, he's had a major hand in the work that was done on this series. He didn't just perform as an actor, but he wrote and things like that as well. So I'm just going to run through each episode and just give my thoughts on them. And then at the end, I'm going to tell my overall thoughts on the show. Episode 1, The Pink House. So this episode is when he gets arrested by police. And they mainly just arrest him because of them knowing who he is and knowing that he's a rapper. And while arresting him and while having him in the jail cell, they just keep reciting his lines to him. And even like in the little interrogation scene, they just keep asking like, do you know him? This and that, basically fanning out over him and the fact that they have him there. So it just was crazy to me because that's literally something that's going on right now, especially like with the YSL and, Young Thug situation. And several other hip-hop artists that have been arrested and because of things that they said in songs, because police officers are clearly kind of fans of them, and a lot of people a lot of police officers and people in law enforcement period just kind of want the upper hand to say, hey, I worked on that case, I had my hand on that person, that celebrity, and it's kind of crazy, especially like seeing artists constantly get antagonized and tore down for like the things that they say in songs, especially like they only do this to people in hip-hop. Like there's no room for creative expression, and we wonder why all the songs sound the same. Granted, they all ain't gotta be about ops and killing this, drug that, but that's the route that they take, and look where it's taking them. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. Episode 2, Black Business. And this is the episode where he goes to the bank and he tries to take out a loan to start his own cereal brand. And the brand is called Kapowis, I believe. And they basically immediately when he comes up to the office and he asks to speak with someone to, get the loan, the desk clerk is laughing in his face while she talks to the manager of the bank, because he has to go through him for the amount of money that he's trying to take out. I think he was trying to get like 3, 4, or 5 million to get things rolling. And she basically laughed in his face, but she still directed him to the manager. He ended up going to the manager, and he was just basically tearing down his idea and telling him why it wouldn't work because of his occupation being a rapper. Even though he said he was a interdisciplinary artist. And he was like, break it down some more, and he basically just said, I'm a rapper. And then he was like, no, it's not gonna work. And he continues, to laugh in his face, playing his face, and mainly he denied him and his chances of getting a loan. And directly after that, people break into the bank and they start up this robbery. one of the robbers immediately recognized him, and I believe they went to school together or something like that. And he was just letting people know, like, do you know who this is? This is Vince Staples, this, that. Nobody in the bank recognized him for being a rapper, but it's kind of like an ongoing joke that he does, Vince Staples does throughout the show, because most people don't really know him. Well, some people don't really know him as a rapper. They know him because of his very funny personality, like I was saying, and his viral clips that go around on social media. And yeah, he gets recognized by the robbers, and throughout the whole time, like, he's just there, chilling basically while they do what they do. And there's also a reference with the robbers. They come in dressed and looking with the makeup as the movie Dead Presidents. I've never watched the movie, but I was literally just on Pinterest like the night before, and they was talking about Pinterest or Twitter. They had like a thread. It was either a thread or I saw a picture of like the best movie posters, and Dead Presidents was one of the ones, and they had the whole face paint and things going on, stuff like that. But yeah, he was spending all of his time just, chilling around, until he started getting talked to by the manager. He was like, please help me get out of this. And he came up with the idea of, give me the loan, basically. He wanted him to give him the loan, and he was like, he didn't have access to the bank cellar, whatever it's called, the vault, and things like that. So Vince ended up meeting someone that was cleaning around in the area. I think he was a janitor, and he's been working there for years. And he told him this date. I think it was January 2nd, 1863 or something like that. And he ended up using that as the code to break into the vault, and it worked. And no money was in there. Somebody had already ran a heist, and they went through, the vents and stuff, and got all the money already. So he let the robbers know that there was no money in there, and they basically are wasting their time. And he convinces them to let the people out, but two by two. And he was the first one to leave out, along with the bank manager. And I'm just gonna let you watch the show to see what happens after that. But the episode was just, it was a little odd, but it gets even odder as we go on, like, through the other ones. And episode 3, the Brown family. And this is like the episode where he goes on a family reunion. It's the 25th annual family reunion of his family. And immediately it starts off with the scene of his mom and his girlfriend not getting along, and her making her change her clothes so that she can look presentable for the family and things like that. And once they get to no, I should say this. So also, like, the mom is preparing the macaroni dish, and if you know anything about macaroni in like black families, they go crazy over cheese and noodles. I don't get it. I mean, I've had good macaroni, but I just think I'm not a foodie, so food doesn't really like make me go bananas. But they was going crazy over the dish, and she wanted to be the only one to bring a dish of macaroni. So yeah, and when she got there, she immediately realized that they were the only ones wearing black t-shirts, and everybody else had yellow, and that made her upset, because, like, why are we not wearing the same color? She felt like they was acting funny towards her, and also because the lady mentioned that they had a separate group chat, family group chat, so she already felt like the family was against her or keeping her out of the knowing. And then another crazy thing was she saw somebody actually bring another dish of macaroni. So she went around harassing everybody for basically bringing the dish that she was supposed to prepare, which I don't understand because even though she had a big pan, it's not enough to feed a whole family. But everybody was eating hers and they were saying hers was the best, so I guess she got a kick out of that. And while Vince was walking around, stuff, and, being around family, him being a rapper, um, you have those uncles that you meet at the family reunions where they be like encouraging you, giving you all these ideas, how you could help out the community and things like that, and how they'll be willing to assist you with that. And then they instantly go into let me hold something and trying to figure out ways to manipulate you into thinking that if you don't give them this, then you're disrespectful, or you think you too much, you all this, you all that. And yeah, so he saw one of his other uncles that was just separating himself from them as a group. Like, he was isolated, very isolated, and he was one of the only other people outside of Vince that seems to have a successful life, or actually just attempted to achieve something outside of the usual. His uncle James, and he seemed to be very different, and based off like how the other uncles were talking about him, they were saying like he was bankrupt, he didn't have no money, this and that. He's not all that, this and that. He's weird, mainly. So he was just at the grill over there, not talking to himself, but working with himself on the grill and stuff like that. And Vince went over there. He was talking to him, and I immediately recognized like he was wearing he was wearing USC, a University of Southern California, crew neck sweater or whatever. And Vince was like asking him like, what was he asking him? He asked him something like, do you ever miss like your old days or something like that? And he was basically saying like yes, and that he wished he could go back in time and stuff like that. And he sent Vince to go get him some beers out of his car. And when he went, it was a lot of USC paraphernalia in there. Like, his whole car was covered in it, and it almost looked as if he was living in his car low-key. And when he came back, his uncle wasn't there. And he just started cooking on the grill, I believe. And when he looked back to the truck was no longer there. So it kind of seemed like he was a ghost, maybe. Maybe that's just something, I don't know. It seemed like he was a ghost, but he also appears again at the end of the episode where he's talking about, basically he just solidifying that the fact that college was his greatest achievement. And I don't think he achieved anything higher than just obtaining his degree in whatever that may have been, or if he even obtained the degree. And one thing that this episode really pointed out to me was that Black culture exists in areas outside of the South, mainly when it comes to like the West Coast. Because when I think of the West Coast, it's very odd for me to say this, I know, it's very odd, but I never really think about Black culture when it comes to the western part of the United States. I feel like most people that are on that side of that's what I felt like. This show clearly opened my mind to the fact that that's not true. But I felt like they mainly adapted to the other cultures that were around them, which is like a lot of Latin and Hispanic culture in Hollywood, culture. But yeah, I'm gonna look into that some more because that is a strange way of me to even be thinking like that. But I haven't really thought into it until I watched this episode. But episode 4, The Red Door. Now, this was very weird episode. It the weirdest episode to me. And it was just, very bizarre. Like, he took his girlfriend and her siblings out to this amusement park, and it immediately starts off with him basically beefing with the children. Her siblings are no more than like 10, 12, if even that, and he's beefing with them. And they keep talking about how they want this chicken, they hungry, this and that. He only fed one of them before they went to the amusement park. So his girlfriend sent him to go find them something to eat. They wanted chicken, so he went to go find them some chicken. The place that he went to initially, they weren't giving him any chicken because they were, I don't know, they were just being stingy and were only like giving it to certain people, and they just wouldn't give it to him. Holding orders for others, basically. So he had to search around the whole amusement park, and he ended up finding this rinky-dink place that was so weird. And the guy that was there as the clerk, he looked so much like Jeffrey Dahmer. I wouldn't have even ate nothing that he was selling. He wasn't even talking to him. He was just blinking and thinking. And it was just odd. But he ended up waiting on a call for him to, say that his food is ready and things like that. So he was just traveling around the park for like hours, and he ended up getting into several altercations and lots of trouble, this and that. And he ended up getting the chicken and stuff like that. I immediately was thinking about like They Clone Tyrone. I think that's the name of the show. Once I started thinking about, once they start saying that we want chicken, this and that, and then start seeing that guy, it was really weird. It was like nighttime by the time that the food was ready, and he was able to give it to the children. And yeah, him and his girlfriend was just getting into it the whole episode while the children ate the chicken, I guess. And yeah, I still don't understand what was the point of that episode. It threw me off a lot. And the last one, White Boy. Now, with this episode, I just want to know why. Like, why? Like, what was this about? Because he comes speak to a class, when you meet a certain amount of success, like your school wants you to come back to where you're from to show these kids that's in shoes that you've once been in, to show them that it's possible. None of them really knew him. One student left out in the middle of him speaking to go sell weed, and he ended up coming back when Vince was finished talking. And by the time all that was over, it was one student still sitting there, and the guy was like, I mean, not the guy, Vince was like, "What's up, man?" And he was like, "My dad knows you, this and that. His name is White Boy." And Vince was like, "Well, who are you talking about?" And we still never really, well, I don't think I saw, I don't know if they did cover this, but we still never covered like if he actually knew Vince, or they went to school together, or they had some type of relationship or not before, or if White Boy, which was a black man, was just a hater, and he just kept trying to kill Vince. And you will see how that works out after finishing that episode. It was just really odd. And also the classroom was like a mixture of different ages, so like I don't know what grade level he was talking to, because some people seem grown, some people seem like they was in kindergarten, especially the child that was like, my dad knows you. His name is a white boy. This and that. He looked like a first grader. So I'm not sure what that's about. But there was also like this like reference to the great film Kill Bill. My favorite movie series ever. And like every time that white boy was trying to kill him, like it would do the red, what's it called? The screen will go red and like it'll be zoomed in on both of their faces, mainly focusing on their eyes, and it'll be a double layer of them like looking at each other. They didn't really do the I guess because legal reasons, because it'll be a direct copy and things like that. But if you watch Kill Bill and you are a fan of Quentin Tarantino, you will pick up on that reference very easily. And even like the scene, this just not clicking to me. But with the cereal, like if you watch, I think it was Kill Bill Volume 2, I get them mixed up all the time. But when Beatrice Kiddo was going against Renita Green in her house, Renita Green basically acted like she was fixing her daughter some cereal as she was getting ready for school, and she ended up pulling a gun. Well, she shot through the box, so she didn't pull a gun out the cereal box. She shot through the cereal box, and I think that was like a really cool callback, because at the end of the episode, well, I guess I can say it. It's spoilers throughout this episode, but Vince killed him. He shot him before he got to shoot him. And he shot him before he got to shoot him. And at the end of the episode, white boy's child is watching the commercial to his brand that I was just telling you about, the cereal brand that's now airing on TV, and it's called Kapowies. And you get it, Kapowies. Shot him. Vernita Green, she shot at Beatrice Kiddo through the cereal box. Vernita Green's child, seen her lying on the floor, dead. And the white boy's child, was just like looking at this all happening, which I'm not even sure how he got back home or anything like that, because he was just sitting in the back seat playing the Switch when Vince was looking at him through the car after he shot his dad and things like that. So yeah, I'm kind of rambling, but I just started fanning out because of that. And my overall thoughts on this show is that it's going to take more than one watch, and I believe that's why it's only 5 episodes. You can't just watch this and just be like, oh, this is what this is about, this is cool, this and that. And that's what I love about rappers and black artists entering different mediums like film, because Atlanta was the same way. Very bizarre episodes created and written by Donald Glover. That's his name, right? Donald Glover, Childish Gambino. Yep. Yep. Very bizarre ways of writing, but it takes you to like hear. It causes a conversation, and it forces you to interact with other people and be like, well, what did you pick up from this? What did you see from this? And it helps you like gain different perspectives outside of like your own. And it forces you to like do your research. Like I was saying, I don't know much about black culture in the West Coast. And that's where Vince Staples is from, and that's where a lot of the story is rooted in, like black culture over there. And maybe I need to educate myself on that to like better understand like what he's trying to say throughout these episodes that seem very bizarre to me, but may seem normal to anybody else from the West Coast. So I will be looking forward to finding any West Coast creators that are going to be reviewing this show and telling their thoughts about this show. I'm definitely going to be binge watching those videos throughout the next couple of weeks as people watch it and things like that. But yeah, I don't really have nothing too crazy to say, but I'm very proud of Vince Staples and what he's been able to do throughout his career, and that he doesn't let, you know, what people say about not knowing him because of his music get to him and things like that. Because if anything, as a hip hop artist, that is a blessing. If you are only known for your music, that is dangerous, because there's no money getting made in music alone. You cannot survive off your music alone as a hip hop artist, especially. So I'm proud of Vince Staples. I'm grateful for this series that he just gave us, and he's opening the doors for many other hip hop artists to do the same thing. And I would just say that he should keep going, and that I'm proud of this. And yeah. So, thank y'all for watching. Again, it's your boy Komaris. You can follow me on every social media platform: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Komaris, ko.maris. It'll pop up. And thank y'all.